Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of APB. So, obviously, I went into this show knowing basically what the premise would be, that basically a, well-known dude who runs a very powerful company. Obviously, he makes stuff. He's kind of an engineer. He makes a lot of products and stuff like that. He sells to people and makes a crap ton of money. His name is Gideon. Obviously, that he buys the district, in particular, the 13th precinct district in Chicago. What I didn't know what motivated him to do it. I thought because at the beginning, he ends up being in a store at the time of it getting robbed, and basically his friend Elliot Soley shows up and protects him, but ends up dying because of it. And then, the fact is the police were slow to get there. There was even a point where the police put him on hold. I'm sure that's probably a real thing, because depending on the area, there's a lot of things that comes down in this episode. Like the fact is that it's because of the area, because of just cutbacks that the police department doesn't have all the assets they need to do their jobs. And that's something that he quickly discovers, and he spends the next bits of time, it's like a 6-week jump that is he's sitting before the mayor and kind of I don't know whether the right word would be. I don't think it's necessarily a senate. It's more like maybe a council or whatever. But basically, he's coming before him because it's he wants to buy the 13th precinct. That's the particular precinct that is investigating his friend Soley's murder. But the fact is that, of course, 6 weeks, they don't even have any evidence or any suspects. And he wants to kind of take things into his own hand. He wants to get justice for his friend. Which kind of comes up as a conversation of the fact is that a lot of people don't like him. Buying a precinct is very arrogant and stupid of him. It's you're a citizen. What do you know about being a police officer? Which makes not just the officers, but everyone in general kind of look down upon him. Because even the main, it seems like she's going to be one of the main people we see in throughout the show is Murphy. Even she's kind of why you think your situation is special. The only reason why you're interested in this or precinct and trying to take over and trying to solve cases and everything is because you lost someone special to you. Well, what about everyone else that lost someone special to them? Do they not matter? And for him, he was you're right. Obviously, you're coming at me a little hot and heavy, obviously. But the fact of the matter is, yes, I do want justice for my friend, but I realize that this is much bigger than this, bigger than me, because there are a lot of people out there that need help, and this precinct has obviously got a lot of cutbacks. Essentially, the way he was breaking it down, it made it seem obviously, they're in charge of protecting over 200 plus people. Now, I don't know whether it's I kind of missed it, but I wasn't sure whether he was saying per cop, one cop, if you break it down just to how many cops there are versus how many people there are in the city and everything, it's you have to almost seems like every cop has to protect and serve over 200 plus people for every one cop, and that's a lot for one person to handle. And even with all their numbers there, even if it was described as all the cops in this precinct have to look after those 200 some people, that's still a lot for this little number of people to handle. So that's why he's doing what he's doing. To help them, it be better at their job. And what I would appreciate about Gideon is even in this one episode, we kind of gotten a little bit of a peek at his personality. You saw it at the very beginning, the fact is that he has this very what would appear a very arrogant personality, but then again, he is kind of a super smart dude, and it's kind of well, of course, it comes with genius comes madness a little bit. So, and then at the same time, when you're super smart, you tend to look down on other people. It doesn't necessarily seem like he looks down on people, but it is kind of a situation of he seems like he acts like he's smarter than everyone else, because he most likely is. Fact is, he gets them better equipment, guns, but rather than real guns, they are tasered guns, because trying to be a more non-violent route, which you gotta appreciate. Plus giving him more gear to kind of help with the whole being shot at situation. Even introducing, I didn't even know this was a part of it, but the APB app. Essentially, it's supposed to be, the way he broke it down, and I thought it was kind of an ingenious way of looking at it, is that basically that app is basically turning everyone in the precinct area, in this, basically in this district, turning them into each cop's partner. That these people represent the eyes and ears, that basically they're there to immediately report a crime or something like that, give you descriptions. You have more of an ear to the ground type of situation where they're there once again being your eyes and ears. And I thought that was kind of interesting, so that this way it's a lot easier and more accessible. People have a lot easier time getting in contact with the police. Like I brought up at the beginning of the episode, like how he couldn't get in contact with the police. They even put him on hold when his friend was there bleeding out in his arms and everything. So it's kind of interesting when you look at Murphy, because Murphy, out of any cop, is the most being like, yo, she calls him out on his stuff. And that's why he looked to her to be the one to help solve Sully's case, because it seems like that's what Sully was for him. I wasn't actually, because like I said, I didn't know the circumstances of what motivated him to do that. I thought it was just a simple situation of like, oh, there's a lot of crime in here. I'm a genius. I'm here to try and help fix things. I thought it was as simple as that, but obviously it's that. But plus, he was motivated by a personal issue and stuff like that. Wasn't he expecting, like, because it seemed like Elliot was kind of that person for him, because Murphy's kind of feeling in that spot for Elliot of being like, hey, I'm here to set you straight. Obviously, you got a lot of, Elliot essentially kept him in line, essentially. Would kind of let him know that anytime he went overboard, Elliot was there to kind of, in his words, kind of sweep up his problem, the problems he left in his wake. So it seems like Murphy might be filling that role going forward. It seems like tech support will kind of mainly be run by Ada, which she brought up an interesting thing too. It's the fact is that, he's working so hard, but none of it will bring back Sully. That basically, eventually, Gideon will get tired of this whole being a police officer type of thing, because he has with every other project. Like, when he starts something, it's new and exciting, but then eventually he just gets bored of it and just moves on to the next project, saying that basically the police department will be that same project. Because especially after whole circumstances of that rookie cop, especially with the whole situation of that rookie cop getting himself shot, a lot of people blame that on him. It's like, oh, the reason why they were there and everything was because you sent them there and everything. They weren't properly prepared in that circumstances, so basically all the backlash fell on him, which even Murphy covers him later on, being like, actually, that wasn't even your fault. Rookie got too eager and stuff, went ahead, even though we kept saying pull back, he didn't want to listen, so that was kind of under his own fault. But there was a side of the show to kind of show you that, hey, there's a good thing for his app to, because there's a situation where like the two of those particular cops kept getting called in by this particular boy. Obviously, we saw one of the incidents because he just wanted to make sure it worked. It's like, well, obviously people are going to want to make sure this worked, because he was actually surprised. He's like, yo, I sent that in like 30 seconds ago and you already responded. It's like, holy crap, like police have never responded like that before. But then he kept doing, obviously it seems like off screen he kept doing it over and over again. And eventually one of the cops said, yo, why are you doing? And then he heard a commotion coming from his house, and apparently his dad was getting very abusive and handsy with his mom, and luckily they were there in time to stop it. So it's a circumstance of kind of showing you like, oh, there is a benefit for all this. But then Murphy kind of pulls, Gideon back by telling him like, oh, the fact is you gave us all these gadgets and everything, you gave us all this high tech stuff is good, but let us do our job too, because the fact of the matter is ordinary citizens can't necessarily help you with this circumstance of trying to find a guy who killed Sully. What we need is people, our contacts, basically people who are mixed up in this world that we can talk to, basically get them to download the app too, and basically have them think like, yo, we remember the fact that you helped us out, so maybe we'll end up being to help them out in type of future quid pro quo type of situation. Don't know why I struggle to get that out of my mouth. And there was also that whole thing with the mayor that it seems like he might be our main antagonist. What I was thinking with the whole premise of the show, because obviously even with a police procedural crime drama type of situation, there's always like an overarching story. I'm sure there's going to be one as we progress, obviously, but I thought it was going to be mainly trying to find the people behind Sully's death, that maybe Sully's death wasn't necessarily 100% an accident or, just circumstance. And it just seems like it was circumstance. But that circumstance basically gives us the main story anyway of being like, oh, why he took over the precinct. I know I'm going in a big circle. I do apologize. But it seems like the mayor will be the main antagonist because obviously he was the first one to be like, yo, back down. But then basically Gideon, kind of being the way he is, was like, yo, okay, so what I'm going to do instead is when time comes, I'm basically going to give like a crap, the money I was going to offer you, I'm going to offer that to your opponents in the upcoming, election, and basically back their runnings so that when they end up replacing you, I'll come back to them with the same offer, with the same check. And basically, obviously, the mayor kind of took it as an attack, and he's like, okay, he used this opportunity, when the rookie gets hurt, to be like, yo, so now I'm stepping in to tell you, you think you're powerful and everything because you have control over one precinct. I'm the mayor. I have 21 under my belt, basically making it seem like arguably he could have just been like, yo, like the fact is that you think you have it tough. Like the fact is I'm overseeing a lot of police, making sure that they're well equipped to the best of my ability and everything like that. But to me, you could also look at it from an antagonistic point of view of being like, I can have those 21 precincts under my belt to do whatever I need them to do, especially because he had those cops bring Gideon out there, because that type seems like the type of situation that seemed like a mob tactic of like bringing you out there at the night by the water. Is like, oh, we're going to go for a swim. I don't know if that's necessarily what Gideon was referencing, or is the fact is he's just like, oh, we're literally out here to take a dip. Obviously, he was being very facetious about it, but nevertheless, I don't know if he meant that in the sense of like, oh, take a dip, like, oh, it's jokingly, oh, I guess we're out here to swim, or jokingly being like, oh, I guess you're going to have me go for a swim. But at the end of the episode, they were luckily able to catch Sully's killer, and then Murphy, now a detective and everything, asks Gideon what's he going to do from now on. He's like, honestly, he doesn't know. The whole purpose of this was to catch Sully's killer, and the fact is he's got them well stocked and everything, so they could kind of handle it from here. But even Murphy's like, even though he's not a cop and everything, like, they could use his help going forward. But then Ida brings it up to him. Like, I love the fact is like, yo, Gideon, you gotta see this. Like, didn't you see we're kind of having a moment here? Can it wait? It's like, no, it can't. I have to break up this moment. And it turns out that not just within the 13th, precinct, like the district around there, everyone across the city started downloading his APB app. So now it's going, because this whole situation was supposed to be just a test run, and then it eventually branched out. But I'm sure even then Gideon didn't expect things to kind of hit off the way they did. It's literally only been like a couple days and things have already kind of escalated at this point. Everyone in the city is downloading it. So it makes you wonder where they're going to go for it from this. Will he kind of get more precincts under his belt, or will his one precinct try to reach out more? Will he try to well equip other precincts, but he'll only mainly work out the 13th? What does this mean going forward with the mayor? Because obviously that's going to cause some issues there. Overall, a very interesting premise for a show. I like the concept behind it. I'm really liking Gideon. I'm very interested to see if we get to learn a little bit more about everyone. I obviously got a little peek at Murphy's personal life. We do know that she has a kid, possibly an ex, because it seems like they're split up, because he's like, oh, I'll bring him back Sunday and everything. And her mom was trying to say something to her, but like Murphy's like, Mom, please don't start. So obviously learn a little bit more about everyone's personal lives and everything, because we still haven't even seen Gideon's personal life, because a little bit of we've seen of Gideon, like he's not actually been home, because the one time he slept anywhere throughout the episode was in the precinct, because he was fixing his drone to have a taser on it, which is a pretty nice addition. I'm just very interested to see what other kind of gadgets he comes up with going further. And obviously you see a little bit here and there from the previews, obviously when they were running the previews for like, oh, this is kind of like stuff from the show and everything. There's certain benefits to the fact is that they do use tasers and everything, especially with that situation where the killer took one of the women hostage, and then, Gideon was kind of whispering to himself, it's like, you have a taser, it won't kill her, but he will, and tase the lady and then tase him. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Obviously she went over to check on the lady first and everything, but still, that did kind of suck. I'm surprised she wasn't super pissed about that. Granted, it's better than the alternative, so. Like I said, I'm very much enjoyed it. I will definitely be continuing watching this. Question is, would you like me to continue reviewing it? Like, if you would, just let me know in the comments down below. I wouldn't mind adding this to the lineup. Like I said, obviously, I'm gonna still continue watching it. Just difference is whether or not I will be continuing like talking about it for Centric or not. So if you would like me to continue it, just tell me in the comments down below of this, and I will add it to the list. So I feel like, I guess from now on, I should kind of throw that out there. If there is anything in particular that you want me to talk about that you feel like kind of aligns with what any of the 3 podcasts that I do, doesn't necessarily have to just be Crime Central, but anything in particular, do let me know. I'm always happy to add, because there's quite a few things that I don't talk about that I do watch in my spare time. So if there's anything, just add, including APB, just tell me in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good